Financial Wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Franti.
Thank you for joining me again. And today, sitting in with us, we do not have Don Getling. We have Gino Franti and Rob Schwartz with Premier College Guidance.
Getling, Guidance. It's a G. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Your name starts with a G. You should be able to handle this.
There you go. So thank you for joining us in the Vault Media Studios by checking us out at donandgino.com. Check out our streaming live that Furman with AP Productions is helping us produce. And a huge shout out to the girls this morning who made sure I had a large 20-ounce Americano. The girls helped me out with that, and that's probably why I botched up the name.
Damn Starbucks.
So I'm enjoying my caffeine this morning, and hopefully you're enjoying our show. We've been talking about grease, oil. Shoot, we even got on a tangent, talked a little bit about terrorism, a little bit different. So when Don gets back, he'll be like, what were you guys talking about? You didn't talk about real estate at all. And I'll say, don't worry, Don, we got it.
Handled.
So let's finish up on oil, Rob. At the end of the day, again with oil, I'm not saying go all in. I'm not saying it's going to go to 200 again, but you're talking about something that was valued at 200, now valued at 50. Hey, buy some. If it goes to 80, you've done well.
And if it goes down to 40, buy some more.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, I know that Rob and I were discussing, and you said, Rob, that this may not be your area of specialty because Don and I usually handle the all the real estate piece because it's what we do. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? So my comment to you was construction is booming locally. And you said, well, is it? And I said, yeah, it's booming locally. So I want to talk about why, number one, and then the other thing I want to talk about is see it early, right? Because we talk about a real estate bubble again. People are, you might hear it, right? Are you hearing it from the mainstream media? Are you hearing that there's another real estate bubble forming?
I can't say that I have, but I am a learned person, and I can tell you that just this year alone, I saw an appraisal on my home come through. It went up almost $75,000, and it's not an expensive place. I live in a three-bed, three-bath townhome. So I know prices have changed. I've looked at rents. Rents are through the freaking roof.
They are. They're out of control. And I gave an example last week's show that a place that I used to rent for $1,100 2 years ago, and I thought that was great. I was like, $1,100 for a one-bedroom? Sweet. And now I'm thinking of renting it for $1,450. It's going vacant, and it's going to go $1,450. So in a year and a half's time, rents have gone up significantly. You're talking about 30-40% gain in rents. So what's going to happen is, you know, we've saturated the rental market with renters because there wasn't enough buyers. So now what's happening is the balance is starting to shift. So when people talk about a real estate bubble, I say it can't happen this time because we don't have loose lending standards. I mean, it will happen eventually over time, but we're not there yet. We don't have loose lending standards like we did last time. And most importantly, we don't have any inventory. And I think that was my main point, is that we don't have enough inventory. People say, well, inventories are up in June, you're going to hear. Well, yeah, they are up in June. Well, thank goodness, because we didn't have anything available. It's not healthy for our real estate market to have 17 multiple offer situations. That means 16 people lost out on that home.
I also think I came across something, Gino, where the amount of time between how long it takes for a property to go on the market and for it to sell year on year is identical.
Yeah, and it's actually shrinking right now. And Dawn and I did a show on the National Real Estate Cafe. If you haven't seen it yet, the National Real Estate Cafe is a show that Dawn and I do on a daily basis to make sure you're in the know every single day. What's going on with interest rates? What's going on with housing? Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? And there's a couple of ways to check that out. One is to go to nrecafe.com. And the other, my favorite way, is to subscribe to our daily text messages. And the best way to do that is to text NREC to 58885. That's NREC to 58885. And what we did there is we showed exactly across the country, state by state, how long homes are taking to sell. And it's unbelievable when you look at it. Most of the homes in most of the country are selling within 30 to 60 days. Historically, that's amazing. Historically, there's a reason real estate contracts were written for 6 months throughout the last 40 years, because that's how long it used to take to sell a home. 3 to 6 months. So the fact that most of the country is selling in under 90 days, that's shocking to me.
What does it tell you for the long term?
It tells me that we got to build more homes. And that's what I wanted to talk about, is that if you've driven around Santa Clarita, you should see a lot of building going on. And what's nice to see is that you don't only have the massive builders like we used to of KB Homes and Richmond American and all these large mega corporations. It's nice to see a company like Williams Homes who builds a quality product and building an entry-level product for homeowners that are first-time homeowners, satisfying that need, because the big monster ones, I mean, Lennar and all those companies are building big homes, but they're building, I went and looked at them, $700,000 homes, $800,000 homes. Those are great as well because they create move-up opportunities so that other people can move out of those entry-level homes. But I applaud Williams Homes for building some entry-level homes.
I look at the Santa Clarita Valley and I think back, I mean, I've only lived here a little over a decade, and I look at how much change there has been in the landscape. My wife, Lisa, has been here almost her entire life, and she recalls stories of, we had one stoplight, and Newhall Ranch Road, what was that? And it was, Tapia Farms and onion fields, and it's an agrarian lifestyle and an agrarian community to now, 250 to 300,000 people, and we're growing up to the hills in all directions. It's a remarkable landscape and a remarkable change in this community.
And of course, with that brings population, and one of the fears is that the population will change the look and feel of this area, and at some point it will, but right now because the cost of living is still high, it creates there's a nice middle class feel here, suburbia. It's people that don't want to be in the city. It's people that aren't willing to pay the prices in the city. Oh my God, has anybody checked what you get for $600,000 in the San Fernando Valley?
Not that much.
A 1950s ranch home for 1,200 square feet. And don't ask me how they get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths into 1,200 square feet, but they do.
My mom lives in Palms over the hill in L.A. She owns a townhome, 2-bed, 2-bath, almost $700,000.
Unbelievable. So prices are going up, but I wanted you to open your eyes to building here. And I equate this, I was explaining to Rob earlier, I equate this to when you're buying a car. You buy this cool car, you're excited about it, you don't see that many of them on the street. And all of a sudden, you get the keys, you turn the key, and the next morning you go to the gas station, there's 6 of them at the gas station. They were always there, Rob. You just didn't see them, right?
That's true. And I'll tell you, listeners, pay attention to what's going on around you. I'm in the same position that you are. If you're listening to this show, you're paying attention to what's going on in these markets. You're paying attention to what's going on in the housing around you. You're thinking, maybe I need to purchase a new home, or I need to refinance my home. I can tell you I'm thinking about refinancing the property I'm in because it's the only way I can see an affordable lifestyle for myself, and it's as opposed to in a rent where I'm going to just throw some money away and not really see a tax benefit from it.
Sometimes you hear throw money away on rent, and what does that really mean? What that really means is that you are paying a mortgage. You're just paying someone else's mortgage, okay? Ultimately, an investor has taken the risk that you're not willing to take, and you are paying their mortgage for them because they were willing to be an entrepreneur. So sometimes it does take an entrepreneurial spirit to buy a home.
I can, for families out there, and they're thinking, where are we going to come up with the down payment? Is this a valuable, worthwhile risk? I can tell you, when I was a much younger person and I bought my first property, it was a 2-bed, 2-bath condo in Granada Hills, and I was living there as a roommate, and my roommate was ready to sell and move up, and he says, Rob, it'll cost you about $9,000 to get into this place, and the selling price was around $112,000, which was to a young person an enormous sum of money. And what I came across was this idea of find a way to make this happen. And it was the most scary investment I had ever made. And I can tell you, 2.5 years later, that property went from $112,000 to $311,000.
Talk about timing on that.
I hit a home run, and then I moved to Santa Clarita in my current property, and I struck out. And that's the nature of the game. But I can tell you that I would never have been able to afford the home that I am in now if I hadn't taken that chance when I was a much younger person.
Well, that's a great story. And we're going to talk a little bit more and give you a couple more stories about real estate when we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show this fine Saturday morning on AM 1220 KHTS. I've got a couple more stories like that, and I want to give the listeners a little bit of a feel about why real estate is a long-term play and not a short-term play. I guarantee you'll do just fine in Santa Clarita, Rob, when we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show.